There have been some issues with YouTube. We've been told well, you're doing it now. You're fine.
Yep, I got it now. I just got to mute it.
There have been some issues with YouTube.
All right, we are live on YouTube.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm going to call the advisory committee meeting to order on Wednesday, January 26th at 7:36 p.m. And we have everyone here except for Tom Wilson and Eric Hernandez. Claire is here also. Okay, so I thought we jump right into Council on Aging. They're all here, and let's not waste their time. We'll do the minutes after we talk to them. So Andrew, it's Bill Harrington, Doug Peck, Pam, and I don't know, Mary Ann probably too. I just don't know who Mary Ann is. So I would assume Mary Ann is coming over too.
Okay. Mary Ann, if you should come over, can you just raise your hand?
She did.
All right.
Doug.
Hi.
Hi. So Doug, you're muted. Here's Bill.
I'm muted because there's noise behind me right now.
What's that?
Tim, I'm going to make you co-host just in case I drop off for whatever reason, and you can continue.
Who's going to be co-host?
Tim.
I'm here.
All right. All right. Hey, Bill, you're muted also in case you don't want to be muted. And there's Pam, and we don't see you or hear you. Mary Ann, we don't see you or hear you. There's Pam. There she is. There she is. So Mary Ann, do you want us to hear you and see you?
I'm fine without being seen.
Oh me. All right. So welcome, guys. Let's see. So Doug, are you chair this year? So you're still muted.
Yes, I am.
Okay. And I take it you're really not on a beach?
Only virtually.
Okay. Too bad.
I don't.
Okay. All right. So everyone, just to introduce our guest tonight. So Doug Peck is the chair of Council on Aging. Bill Harrington is a long time member and former chair. I don't remember him not being on it. And Pam is the director of the Senior Center. And Mary Ann, I'm not sure, are you on Council on Aging? Yes? Okay.
Yes, she is.
Yes, I am.
All right, so thank you very much for coming. So you've got 5 advisory members here tonight. You probably know Andrew Pfaff. You probably know Tim Martell, and you got 2 new faces here, Adam Nadiff and Marcy Jones.
And Kathy Tom said he should be here in a little bit.
Okay, good. So we got 2 more members, and one's going to be a little bit late, so you should see one more before we finish. So I'll turn this over to Marcy in a minute, as she was the liaison to Senior Center, Council on Aging. But what we'd like to do, guys, is start out with your budget. Let's just go over that. I think that's pretty straightforward. And then let's talk about capital. As you know, there's a lot happening as far as that goes, and want to kind of see where you guys stand, what you thought of the meeting last week with the space planner, et cetera. And then I'll update you as to what I know, given that I'm on the school committee research subcommittee that is about to make a recommendation to the school committee as far as whether we think we can close the school or not. And then, of course, if we do, we've got a school that can be used for town needs. So we'll do that, the second part of it. Okay, so Marcy, I'm going to turn this over to you, and I can share my screen as far as the budget goes. If Andrew will let me do that.
Yep.
Well, good evening, you guys. Nice to meet the other members that I didn't get a chance to speak to. It's a real pleasure to be your liaison, and Pam, nice to see you face to face there. So Pam and I met and went over the budget, and we'll be in good hands with having her explain all of the details, but I'll just kick off like I did with the Youth and Family Services just a bit, and Pam certainly will take it away from there. We do see the town budget in front of us, which for this year was at about $347,000, and we're looking at a 2.2% increase to $355,000 for this upcoming year, if I have that right. I think scroll down there, I think we'll see that. The funds flowing into the Council on Aging certainly is, as I understood it, three-prong. It is the town budget and the money we see in front of us proposed, and some grant supplements, which I'm sure Pam will speak about. The formula grant, and I believe the Southborough Community Fund also provides some budget dollars there. But that we want to make sure that we're really clear that that's really supplemental to the budget that the town provides and wouldn't be in lieu of. So all of those funds are needed that would come from the town. And then last but not least, there's also the Friends of the Southborough Senior Center, which we heard a little bit of similarity there with the Youth and Family Services, who also had a Friends program that provides some funding for things like decoration, catering, and subsidizing trips and tickets and things like that. So we're really happy to hear that you guys have a Friends program too. Just briefly, I was really impressed learning about the work that you guys do. It's really near and dear to my heart as a geriatrics trained pharmacist. So I certainly have appreciation of everything that you're doing. You serve about 1,600 seniors, or there's about 1,600 seniors in the Southborough community, and that's a relatively high percentage of our approximately 10,000 residents. And you do provide services for folks in their late 50s all the way to over 100 years old. And Pam will probably tell us about some of the wonderful work that they do, such as the meals program. And I thought it was really compelling what you told me, Pam, which is there's the things that everyone sees and hears about, which are things like trips and social programming, which I will be happy to hear more about. And there's also the things that people don't hear about, which is more on the social services side, which is about 50% of what the Council on Aging here does. So I think with that, Pam, we'll turn it over to you and look forward to kind of going through the budget line by line like we did the other day. And also on tab 3 there, Andrew, the budget backup, the expense sheet, I think will provide some details on some of the line items that we've had questions about from others. So if we want to look at those breakdowns, maybe as we walk through, that might help.
Thanks,
So I'll
Marcy.
turn it over to Pam. Yeah.
Marcy did such a good job. I can go watch Jeopardy now. So basically, the budget consists of the three pieces to cover everything that we do. The town budget, formula grant, community fund grant, and the Friends. And so the town budget is basically created and to show you what it takes to run a really basic senior center. It has the basic parts to run it. It has some basic programming in it to run it. I mean, there were years when we started out, the Friends had like $1,000. I mean, they had nothing when I, started years ago, and they've, had fundraisers and done different things. And fortunately, we have more than that. And then, these grants, some of them didn't exist and they were much smaller. So, and the other thing is we don't control those things at all. So they can come and go. The only part that the town controls is the town budget. So how to do this in somewhat of an organized way, we decided to put together basically the skeleton of the senior centers with the town budget, and then it's built from there. The formula grant is an annual grant from the state, and it's based on how many seniors are in town, and it's per dollar. It's dollars per senior, basically. And that consists of more programming and pretty much programming that can come and go. If we ever lost it, it wouldn't affect, running of the senior center. So we do some neat things with that. Some off-site programs. We've done group personal training programs at one of the CrossFit gyms. We can put water aerobics in there. We put different kind of creative programs in there. We've also used that money in the past to buy furniture, tables, chairs, outdoor furniture, all kinds of things. Recently, it's kind of, the state has left it unrestricted since COVID started. So the good part about that is we can use that for some bus trips and other things that we couldn't use it for before. So that gives us more flexibility. So if you look at the town budget, it gives you some, fitness programs and a little of everything basically is what is contained in that. Plus the basic nuts and bolts that we need to run the department. And that pretty much is it. I mean, it's pretty simple. As Marcia mentioned, there's the kind of the front of the department that everybody sees is all the programs and the events and the trips and the parties, the educational programs. And the other part of it is the whole social service piece that we do. And that's been pretty much in full swing the last few years. I mean, everything we do, even the fun things that we do, the goal of that is to keep people busy, keep people happy, keep people healthy in town, active, and giving them the opportunity to do a variety of things. So even though they look like fun and games, there's a goal in there to benefit the seniors. So it's a combination of all of that that we put together, but I'm not sure what questions. We didn't ask for anything new. Some of the programs, if you look at the detail page, we've shifted programs around. That's not carved in stone, but that's the general format that I follow. And basically our budget is based on a normal year, which we're going to give it another go again. And hopefully that by July, we can be up and running with normal programs and normal programming. We've had to make a lot of adjustments the last couple of years. Instead of doing bus trips, we've done a lot of home delivered treats and different things with volunteers. We've created all kinds of different things. We have a program with the Southborough Community Fund that's it's not a nutrition program, but it includes a meal. And the meal comes from Kennedy's Market, which everybody loves. And it's primarily built around caregivers. So people that are full-time caregivers are in a very stressful situation. It's 24/7. A lot of times it's an elderly spouse or an adult child, and they've got their hands full. And so it's like I said, it's not a nutrition-based program, but what it is, it's an outreach program. And they get a phone call every 2 weeks, basically to remind them that their meal is coming, but it's more of a check-in to see if they need anything. And they develop a great rapport with our outreach coordinator. If they need anything, they feel real comfortable, letting her know if they need anything or just somebody to talk to. And kind of, we kind of go along with, every 2 weeks, you kind of go along for the ride with them, and that, helps in a lot of situations. But that program is funded in its 5th year with the Southborough Community Fund. So they pay for the meals, which is amazing. And they also allowed us during COVID to expand that program to include particularly isolated seniors or seniors in particular situations that we felt needed to be checked in on a little more often. And that was great. I mean, that really, we got some great feedback, and it was a great support, especially in the winter time for those people. So happy to answer any questions. Would love to have you guys more familiar with the senior center. We do a whole array of programs. What I'd like to do is put you all on our mailing list with our newsletter, so you have a little bit better idea of kind of what we do. Just bear in mind that during COVID, we've had to get real creative with some things. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer anything.
Yeah, one question I had was that the Formula grant I wrote down as 19,000, and then the
Okay.
Southborough Community Fund was 12,000 for the meals program. Is that
Mhm.
right? Those aren't
Correct.
combined. Okay.
No, it's not combined. It's 19 and
Okay.
change. It's based on, I think it's $11 a senior this year based on the census.
Okay.
And that's how it gets increased a little bit if it does. That's where that comes from. And we're also part of, we are also part of another grant with Southborough Community Fund that we share with Youth and Family Services and the Food Pantry, which is, I don't know if Sarah already told you about the emergency fund. I won't go through it again if she already talked to you about it. So we
Yes, she
share
did.
that.
Yes, she did. So we're okay with that. We get it that you guys get together and
Yeah.
make a decision.
Yeah, so far so good. We've been really lucky to have it.
One thing to add, I know that postage has been asked a few times, and Pam and I went over that their primary outreach to the seniors is by newsletter. Even though we've tried other things, that's still the preferred and most effective way of reaching people. So the postage line there that you see encompasses all of that.
Right, and
I did want to point that out.
Yeah, thank you. It's six. We do it every other month. A lot of other senior centers do it every month, but every other month we make it work, and it seems to work for people. And yeah, we're not quite ready to switch over to email. We're working on it. We're working on building up that email list, but we're definitely not ready to transition fully over to that. There's still a large number of people that rely on that mailing.
So before we get to specific questions, it's not going to change anything. If everybody sees these two numbers where I've got my cursor, there's just a formula error. The 2.4 is right. They just, and I'll fix this later, but this is not, those two are not right. That's okay. It's just to be an E instead of a D. 2.4 is right. So don't worry about the fact that 37 and 48 are not right. It doesn't affect anything. Okay, so no problem. Okay, so I'm going to start with Andrew Pfaff.
Hey, Pam. Hey, everybody.
Hi, Andrew.
Pam, your budget as always looks good. Let's see if I get into the details.
I want to know where you are, Andrew. It looks like a great place for a party.
It is my barn. So I have a barn / man cave / my office. So come by anytime. Maybe it would be a good senior center activity.
Hey, we could use space. How big is it? Can we go over there and hold some events? That'd be great.
It's about 4,000 square feet, the whole barn together. So
That sounds great to me.
One question I had is under computer repairs and maintenance, there's software. I was just curious what software you were using. And for what?
Where's the number? Computer maintenance and repair. It's called My Senior Center.
Okay.
And it's a program. It's a live. I don't even know how you describe it, but basically it's designed for senior centers. Has pictures and everything, so we can use it. We're not known for our computer skills, so but it collects all the data. We collect everybody that comes. Well, we try to get everybody that comes through the door. If they're going to a fitness class or they're playing cards, or we have categories, we can tell you how many people took fitness classes in a year or a certain period of time. It actually works really well. How many people use a senior center in a year? Has all of those stats in there.
Got it. So it's more registration than anything.
It is, yes. It's great for reporting and getting, feedback information too.
Yeah.
It actually is supposed to have, we don't use it, but there's a component that we haven't used that has like a, you swipe it when you come in the door, and there's usually a kiosk, but we have multiple entrances. And that's a real challenge to get people to do that. Just the way we're set up, it would be hard to use the kiosks, but.
Got it. I was just making sure, and Tim might ask the question, but I was making sure there wasn't any HIPAA data in that application.
Actually,
sounds like we're good.
No, anything that's stored in there that's that the nurse stores in there, or Cindy, our outreach coordinator, that's all locked.
Okay. All right. And then.
Well, hold on. I heard two different things. I heard that there's nothing in there, and then I heard that the nurse put data in there.
Yeah, there is, she does have data in there, collecting how many people she's seen, and yeah, there is information in there.
Is there health data in there? Or is it
Mm,
just data about?
It's like more statistical data.
Got it. Thank you. Sorry for interrupting.
No, Tim, this is kind of my, questioning there, just, and you can elaborate more when it gets to you if you want. And I think that's it. That's all I got.
So Marcy, I'm skipping you. I assume you're all set. Tim, anything else?
No, I'm good. Thank you. Andrew covered it.
Adam?
Yeah, hi, good evening, everybody. Nice to meet you. Yeah, budget looks pretty good. I guess one comment and then a question I do have that's not really specific to your budget, but just in general from what we've seen from some other groups that have come in. So the comment, I'm sad to see the music budget going down. I would think that would be a little bit bigger of a hit there. But in any event, you know your audience better than we do. So
No, they still like music, but
yeah. The question I have is there's been several groups that have come in that have nurses either part-time or in some capacity part of their programming. And I just don't know if there's opportunities to maybe collaborate a bit more and work together instead of each group having their own nurse dedicated to their team or their program. So I'm sure there's good reason why it's separate right now, but maybe an opportunity for the town to look into sharing some of that.
it comes
So
up a lot,
Pam,
Adam.
Pam, let me handle the initial, then you can take over. So Adam, you're going to hear a lot more next week when we meet with Board of Health, but the part-time nurse that we see here, Leslie Chamberlain, used to work for both Senior Center and the Department of Health. And then she decided she didn't want to work that much and only wanted to work for Senior Center, and that was last year. So she resigned her position with the Board of Health and only remained part-time to Senior Center. So that's how she's ended up only here. Board of Health then came last year and said they wanted a full-time nurse, which we spent a lot of time talking about. We'll spend a lot more time talking about next week. So you're right. You do have a full-time nurse now on Board of Health, and you've got Leslie as a part-time employee on Council on Aging. And that's the only nurses outside the school system that I'm aware of. Youth and Family Services does not have a nurse. They've got trained counselors, but they don't have a nurse. So I think that's your nurses for the moment. But we're going to spend a whole lot of time. Do you guys hear the feedback?
A little bit, yeah. And I may have been confused about the youth and family. Maybe I thought they had a nurse.
I'm actually really glad you brought it up, though, because it comes up a lot, and these things will probably come up when Board of Health comes up too. Just to give you a little history, we started with a nurse years and years ago. Like actually on 9/11 was Leslie's first day. Quite a day to start a new job. So it was a long time ago, and we started off with a few hours, a couple of days a week. And it's basically what she does is she works Mondays and Fridays, and she does 12 hours for the week for us. And I've tried over the years really hard to make sure that job description was very separate from anything that the Board of Health did. So what happened was as years progressed, Board of Health needed some help. They were contracting out nursing services, and they kind of said, "Oh, Leslie, can you do a few hours for us?" So it gradually kind of grew into this kind of a bigger job for Leslie as she took on more and more hours for the Board of Health. And it worked for her. So she kind of eased into that. But I was always concerned that the two jobs remain separate because the expertise and the specialty you need to work with seniors is very different than what you need to work for the Board of Health. It's just it's a different, a different set of what you do. So that's something that I hope doesn't change. There are a lot of senior centers that basically said, oh, we need a nurse. And they had one on the Board of Health, so they sent them over to the senior center for a couple of hours. Leslie does a lot, seeing people, that have long-term illnesses, short-term illnesses, basic blood pressures, and she does a lot of counseling. So health counseling, works with doctors. She also does health programming and stuff for us. So, I hope down the road that the two things don't ever get melded together, and people talk about it all the time. Why don't we have, one nurse or whatever it is? And, I really hope that the senior center can always have a nurse that specializes in geriatrics and knows what's out there in the community, knows all those resources. And really that's what they want to do, as opposed to kind of a secondary piece that kind of was put upon them, which I hope that doesn't happen. I mean, it happens a lot out there for people that have nurses. So that's kind of the history of it. And basically Leslie had the two parts, and then she retired from, she's old enough to retire, but she retired from the Board of Health side first and kind of kept this piece for now. So that's kind of the history of it.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And is Leslie's 12 hours fairly well utilized, almost
Yeah, I mean,
to capacity?
It's been super challenging during COVID. So it's been a lot of proactive work, reaching out to people, talking to people, more on that, more along those lines during COVID. But yeah, she's busy. She sees probably, I think the last statistics was, I don't know, it's like 80 to 100 different patients she has. And some of those people come in once, some of them come in, every week. It's a real variety. And then she, does a lot of people that just sort of walk in and, have things to say to her, have quick questions to ask her. So she's busy. I don't think that's too many hours. If we did, we certainly would, we certainly wouldn't have it. And, we would cut back. But at this point, it seems to be in the right spot. It's going to be a whole new world when we open up again. It's going to be we're going to have to reevaluate a lot of things when we open up again. So much has changed. Unfortunately, some of the people have changed. We've lost a lot of people during COVID for a variety of reasons, and that's unfortunate. So it's going to be interesting when we reopen and see what people want. It's almost like kind of a new startup. I think people are going to want a lot of new programs. They're going to be really ready to get out of the house. But that's also going to, with Leslie, with the influx of people in and out of the building, that definitely makes a big difference.
So I think we've got to go back to Tim Martell's question a few minutes ago. If Leslie is taking blood pressure and she's talking to seniors, doctors, how can there not be data that she's recording that is HIPAA protected?
To tell you the truth, I'm not 100% sure how much of that goes in. It's a lot of checked boxes and things like that with the data that we're collecting. There is a spot for notes that she does use. I have to check with her. I don't think she puts those notes into my senior center. I'll double check with her, but I don't think so. But those Cindy's and Leslie's are both locked. I can't even get in. There has to be you have to have a password to get in.
All right, so we probably
Actually,
should.
I can get in. I can check. I will check on
Yeah,
that.
so we should probably investigate that a little bit further.
And
Yeah, I will definitely look into it.
who's the admin of the system?
You mean
Who
I have
controls?
I'm sorry?
Yeah, who controls like if a new user has to be added or if a user needs to be terminated?
That would be me.
Okay, so you have full access to the data.
I do. Yep. We've been using it for so long, to tell you the truth, I don't remember how much of that goes in there. I will check though.
Okay, so Marcy, can you follow up with PM on that aspect?
Sure. We'll follow up offline and try to get some more information.
Yeah, I'll
I'm
talk to
happy to help.
Leslie and find out what exactly she's putting in there.
Adam, do you have any more questions?
Only other question, looking at this sheet here, and I probably just don't understand all the nuances to it, but you've got 2 people with the same grade
Oh,
and
yeah.
sorry, Peg and Cynthia,
They're the
grade
same.
6, right? Both grade 6, but very different rates. Is that?
Very different jobs. And Cindy's been there for 25 years. And Peg's been there for about 12, 13 years, something like that. So completely
So just
different
different
jobs.
places on the range for each grade.
Yeah, absolutely. Different spots on the range based on longevity and.
Okay. Yep.
and the
Thank you. No other
job-
questions.
Okay. The other job is a job share. That admin is a job share at I think it's 32 hours, 34 hours, something like that.
34.5.
34. I've done this so many times. I kind of sometimes forget the details. So.
Okay, all right. So welcome, Tom. Any questions for Pam as far as budget goes?
Good evening. No, I do not right now. Thanks, Kathy.
Okay. All right, I have no questions. I just wanted to make sure that we were straight on Leslie, and we have heard what you have said about Leslie. It's my understanding that she's very popular in the senior center with the seniors. Yeah, that's what I've heard. Okay. All right. So if everybody's happy with the budget, or no more questions there, let's turn to their capital needs. And just to give everybody some background, the building that that senior center is in is a church. That's what it used to be, a church. The town bought it, I don't know, Pam, what, 20 years ago now? 15 years ago?
Yeah, has it been that long? Probably 15, 16 years ago, 17
Well, if
years
I
ago?
don't, I don't know about you, but I say 10 years and it's always 15, right? So I went a little bit high, but
Yeah, for me, it's always a blur now. Once I pass like 15 years, it's getting foggy.
yeah, I think 15, I think we paid about 3 million, and we've spent quite a bit of money on it over the years. We've tinkered with it. So it's certainly in better shape today than it was when we first bought it. But it's still lacking, and Council on Aging has been trying to make some improvements to it, and they've been very patient as far as those improvements, knowing that we might have a better building for them soon to actually move into. When we left off before COVID, they had a plan in place to make some pretty big changes to it. They were going to get the kids at Assabet to actually do the work. We were pretty far down the line as far as Assabet projects, so it's still going to be 2 or 3 years before they could get to us. But if you use Assabet, you obviously can save a lot on labor. So they were willing to wait for the Assabet students to free up to actually do the labor on it. So currently, not a lot's been done in the last few years. They've got a new bathroom, and I think they're about to have a second new bathroom, but that's about it as far as what they asked for. They asked for a lot more. So Doug, you want me to let me turn this over to you now, and why don't you kind of update everybody on what your thought process is now as far as your physical structure?
Well, it's we're actually going to have another board meeting on this on Tuesday night. We've discussed it with the board, but really in a preliminary fashion, not just the addition, but what's also going on with Woodward. As you said, there's a lot of moving parts right now, and it seems to be every day there's something new coming up. So I guess it really comes down to what's going to happen with the school and what the timing is, and then what happens to Corderville Hall. Does it get sold? Does it get demolished? What's going to happen? So it's pretty hard for us to make any sort of firm commitments one way or the other, not knowing what the timeline is for Woodward. Are we looking at 5 years, 7 years, 10 years? It really makes a big difference. As you said, we've been waiting for a long time for this addition, and the senior population is the fastest growing population in not just in Southborough, but in the state. We're growing faster than anybody else, any of the school populations. And it's the seniors who really need the social activity that's the high age group of 70 and 80 and over that's growing the fastest. And what we are looking to put into here is a space where people can socialize more, not just have programs going on, but can stay, can read, have a library, have a kitchen where we can serve lunch, etc. Because quite frankly, this era of COVID has been devastating to our seniors. It's caused a lot of loneliness. It's caused a lot of isolation. It's caused depression that people are still and anxiety that people are still having a hard time coming out of. And this, we're hoping that the senior center can be a place where, people can feel safe, where people are, for the most part, vaccinated, very, socially conscious of what's going on, and are able to come and, actually see their friends. They don't Zoom. People with even the slightest touch of dementia have a very, very difficult time talking to another person on a screen. They have a very hard time. If you ever try to teach anybody, even with just mild dementia, how to use email, it's just almost impossible to do. I've tried, believe me, I've tried. So, we're still very much want to be a face-to-face type of organization. It's really important to us to have people congregate outside of the facility as well as inside. I think I'm speaking for the board. Bill and Pam can weigh in to say our preferences. It depends on what we can do the soonest, because right now we've kept people out. The senior center is closed for the whole month of January. We don't know when we're going to get back in again, and we need space. We're getting desperate for it. Be able to have the activities that we should have. We're serving, as you said, there's 1,600 seniors in Southborough. And how many have used the senior center last year, Pam? I think it's over 800 is the count that I saw. That's a lot. That's a lot more than, elementary schools, for kids. And it's growing at a rate of better than 15% every year. So I'm anxious to hear what about, what's going on with the schools, particularly what a time frame looks like.
Okay, so that's a good segue back to me, I think. So I'm going to tell you what I know. So I'm on the Capital Improvement Committee subcommittee that is about to wrap up its work and make a recommendation to the full school committee as to whether we believe, with the demographic projections that we've done, we can close one of the 3 elementary schools. And we are going to basically say, yes, we can, based on the studies we've done. We can close a school. We can close one of the 3 schools, Finn, Neary, or Woodward. We've concluded that for a variety of reasons, we don't want to tinker with Trotter. So it's going to be some combination of grades within 2 schools, between kindergarten or pre-K and 5th grade in 2 schools instead of the 3 we currently have. We are most likely going to recommend, as you know, which is why the focus the other night was on Woodward, that Woodward be the school that gets closed, and Neary is going to then be either torn down and rebuilt or completely rehabbed. So that's where we're going to end up. The meeting with the school committee is going to be on February 9th, in case you want to tune in to that. So that's where we're going. Timing, this is the timing. If the town decides to go forward with this project, and the town decides they want to work within the Massachusetts School Building Authority program, which will help fund the school if we were to do this, then you're looking at Neary being ready to occupy at the earliest, January 1st of 2028. It could be a year and a half after that. So it's pretty far down the road. If we were to take MSBA funding to build, maybe the reimbursement could be 16, 17, 18% of the total cost. Total cost is significant. So that 18% is actually a lot of money. If we instead decide not to use MSBA funding and get into the program, it would shorten the time frame by 2 to 3.5 years. So you could have Neary ready to go, move back into, which means Woodward would be vacant, 1/1/26. So that's kind of the earliest. So we're still talking, 22, 23, 24, 25, 20, so 5 years before Woodward will be ready to use for the purposes that were outlined last week. So it's still pretty far away for both of them. It just takes time to get this done. It's a big project. It's got to be approved. You've got to get it designed. So it's not tomorrow. So therefore, you guys should take this information back for your meeting next week and then decide what you would like to do. And believe me, we hear you. When we did the demographic study, we did it with 2 different firms. One of the first things that stuck out on the first study we did was the senior projected population. You're right, it grows a lot. So the school age population goes down or steady, at least in the first report, and the seniors went way up. So you're right. We've got a very big senior population already, and it's going to get bigger percentage-wise as far as the total population goes. So I think you got to take all that into account when you meet, as far as what you're willing to, what you want to do, and when you want to do it. We haven't spent much time talking about what happens to Courtable Hall if you were to move to Woodward. I don't think there's a use for that building at that point. You heard what the space planner said. We think Woodward is going to take care of what our built up needs are right now. So my guess is, if this is just me saying this, no one said this. My guess is we sell it, but I don't, it's kind of a hard building to sell. So I think it gets sold, but I don't know that for a fact. And that has not been focused on at all. The focus has been, what to do with schools and then what to do with the empty building, if that's what is the result. I can say this, your needs are at the top of the list. Everybody's aware that you need more space. We know what you wanted to do a couple of years ago, how you wanted to push it out and the extra space. So we're aware of this. So I think you guys have got to, meet and say, we really can't wait to, 1/1/26 or 1/1/28. We've got to have room before then. So it may be that we have to do something short term, just because you can't throw away, 4, 5, 6 years.
So that's sort of our thinking as well, because we're looking. There are a lot of programs that we aren't capable of doing simply because we don't have the room. There are Marlborough, Hudson, and Northborough all do this Daybreak Program, which is a program for people with dementia that's extremely low cost that caregivers don't go to. They get dropped off for so many hours during the day, 1 day a week at each center. And we would love to be involved in a program like that, but we have no space for it to do that. We have no space to really serve meals. We have no space where people could even sit and quietly read a book. So, we're really, pushed. So it may make sense for us to really push the town to go with our expansion, which isn't, in the scheme of things, all that much money, and then see what happens 8 years after that. Because we don't know what's going to happen. When we look at Woodward, we're trying to look also 10 plus years out to say, is this enough space? What are we planning for? Because we know the population is going to grow considerably, and that's a concern of ours as well. Is there going to be enough? Are we going to be able to, working with seniors and Marcy, I'm sure you're aware of this, has changed so much in the last 10 years. It's just going to continue to change at a very rapid pace. The type of space that they need, the technology that they need, as people age, we're seeing more and more people, as you said, in their late 80s and 90s. And that requires a whole different set of programming from what we're doing now. And so that means different things. Woodward's got, it's a nice school. I've been over to visit it along with Bill. You know, one of the big obstacles, just for instance, is to walk in the main entrance. It's 100-foot ramp. Try pushing a walker up 100-foot ramp, or pushing somebody with a wheelchair up that. So we can use the other end of the building, but there's things that we have to get over, because there's parking that has to be addressed, because there's plenty of parking if you look at the amount of space, but a lot of it's on the first level, which requires another ramp or a set of stairs to climb up. It's just not feasible looking out for seniors to put them through that. They just won't come. So we're anxious to make some decisions. And again, we want to work with the town to make the best decision possible. But I'm not sure we could wait till this is just me talking to 2028. And that's not even being assured that Woodward would be all done by then. That's just nearly being all done by then.
So we know we're going to spend money on Woodward too, to get Woodward ready for the uses it's intended for. So I wouldn't fret over the fact that it's not ready today as far as what you would need. But I would focus on, and you're right, what you had planned, a couple years ago, in the big scheme of things, was pretty short money, especially using Assabet. Are you still in the Assabet queue? Do you know?
Yes, we are.
Okay.
I talked to John Parent recently and asked him that question, and he said, as far as he knew, yes, we were still in the queue, but it'd be a year later than what we thought it was going to be. But they still have us on the list.
Okay, I think you should stay there, right? So don't lose your place.
Yep, we definitely will.
But let me emphasize what I said a minute ago. I pulled up the NASDAQ study they did. So look how different the population looks in 10 years or 20 years. So 2010 census.
Kathy, we can't see your screen.
I'm not sharing that piece. I'm just telling you what it says. Okay, so hold on a second. So 65 and older in 2010, there were 1,100 out of 97. So about 10%, a little bit more than 10%. In 2030, that 1,100 is supposed to grow to 3,000 out of 11,000. So it goes from slightly over 10% to 30% in 20 years, as far as the percentage of people 65 and over. So that's what you're looking at as far as what you're trying to serve. So
and we don't have people leaving either the state really or the town because of really our the good medical care that we have. There's no place that has better medical care than we do, particularly for people with dementia. We have so many facilities around here right now. We have so many programs, research programs that are going on at all the hospitals in Boston. I'm constantly taking, and my company is constantly taking people in and out to Boston just because of the care is so good. People are staying here, and they're going to stay here longer, and just need more help. So I'm not surprised by those numbers.
Can I ask a question?
sure.
Kathy, and for
Sorry,
Doug
Tom. Sorry, Tom.
yeah, that's anybody else that cares to chime in. This is just me trying to be educated on this. And this just goes to what you just said, Doug. This isn't a problem unique to Southborough, obviously. Right. It's across the state. And it seems to me, and I grew up in this area and I left, I came back, and things in Massachusetts or in New England, very parochial, and we're having these towns are so close to each other. And you mentioned some of the other communities around here that are able to offer more. I'm not saying this is like a suggestion of a long-term solution, but it's kind of a compound question. I'm making it up as I think about it. But given that this is a statewide issue of a growing elderly population and the needs that population requires, what kind of additional funding resources are being provided by the state? But then also getting to my comment about things being parochial around here, what kind of collaboration and resources can be done on somewhat of a regional level? Because I know you mentioned how these other towns provide certain activities or classes. And I know, for example, like Meals on Wheels, you mentioned, and I know this from actually doing that,
Mhm.
that it used to be done in Southborough, but now it's out of Westborough, and that's a regional association that does that. And
Mhm.
is that something that's being explored, given that, I don't know, obviously, like a family can't just send their children to Hopkinton or Westborough schools
Right.
because the division of where the town is. But for senior things, if Westborough offers something, is there a border put up where it's like, hey, we can't have Southborough elderly coming
No,
over here? Just curious.
any senior
to
is
educate Mr.
any senior is able to go to any senior center. So there's no restrictions on that. But there is just the amount of capacity. We have a Shine program, and we have one of honestly, the best Shine counselors around. Shine is a program where that really helps you decide what you should be taking for insurance. Medicare is so complicated, and when you need to look at all the medications that you take, the doctor that you want, all the where you want to go with the hospital, etc. So we have a really good one. Anybody can go to any Shine counselor. The problem is just capacity. We have one Shine counselor. They're a volunteer. So, we can't start taking people in from Westborough or Northborough or Marlborough. We just don't have the bandwidth to do something like that.
Yeah, on certain
But-
things that are super popular, we do put limitations, give Southborough residents priority on certain things, because we have to, certain events, certain programs, we have to do that so they don't get shut out. But do have plenty of people coming from other towns and plenty of Southborough residents going to
Right.
other towns.
Yeah, for some things. I'm also on the board for Bay Path Elder Services, which runs the Meals on Wheels program, which runs mass health programs for the elderly as well. And we work in 14 towns. But I will tell you this, it's not confidential anymore. We're in the process of merging with Springwell in Waltham, because right now it's like a lot of businesses, size matters. And, we've got to the point where we need to be bigger to be able to provide the services that everybody needs. It's just becoming much more sophisticated to provide these kind of services as people age and the landscape changes. So there are things going on, but the formula grant, I think I'm going to add $1 to it. I think the formula grant is $12 a person. So I don't know how much money the state gives students, but the state's going to give you $12 to provide programs for the year for each senior that you have. So yeah, there are things that need to change now.
Oh, and we do collaborate. We work in that. He mentioned Bay Path, and that's
Right.
Bay Path covers, I think, 14 towns, and I work with the other directors in that 14 town block. And lots of times we will talk about collaborating and sharing, and we're happy to steal each other's ideas and support each other. And whenever we can, we do that.
Yeah, but you just have to remember that there's 350 something towns in Massachusetts, and almost every one has some form of a senior center or collaborate with others. There's over 300 because they're all town employees. So everybody here is paid by the town, which funds most of these programs. So we are parochial, but it's very hard that's beyond our scope to try to break that out and say, well, we need to, share resources when the town is paying for those resources more so than the state is.
Every town runs a senior center very differently.
Mhm.
Some of them, have a closet somewhere, and other ones have beautiful buildings, and, the budgets run the gamut and staffing runs the gamut. It's 300 very different senior centers. It's a little bit crazy that there is nothing that really kind of ties it all together, but they're all done by individual towns with different needs and different resources.
I think the last figure I'll leave you with, and then I'm going to shut up. I talk too much. I think there's approaching 1.5 million people in Massachusetts over 60. To give you an idea of what the scope is.
Yeah,
That's a lot of people.
It's baby boomers. It's true.
Yeah.
So Doug and Bill and Marianne and Pam, this is what I would suggest doing as far as the building needs. is now that you've got an idea of what the timing might be, and that's our best timing that we know of right now, that's straight from the person who was the OPM for the public safety building. So that's what our timing is, whether we use MSBA funding or whether we go it alone, right? Now that you know that, I think when you meet next week is you need to say, we need to either go forward, and if you do think you need to go forward and you can't wait, then you need to then meet again with the CIPC Capital Improvement Planning Committee, and make that clear. They've got this on, just so you know, it's on their plan. They've got placeholders for the work that we've been talking about for 5 years now. It's
Okay.
there. But of course, you'd rather not spend money that then, you turn around and get no benefit from if you sell the building 2 years after that. But
Mhm.
I'm not convinced this can wait.
Right.
So I think you guys you got to take the lead here and say, either it can wait or it can't wait. And if it can't, you got to go back to CIPC and say, we really need to get something done. Appreciate what's going on as far as being able to eventually move to Woodward and have a bigger, better space. But, we just can't service the population that's growing day by day in Southborough for the next 4 to 6 years, whatever it is. In the building we have, we've got to do something. We've got to, push it out like we want to. We've got to get that extra room on there like we want. And again, it really is fairly short money in the big scheme of things. NERI's going to cost $60 to $80 million to rebuild. So,
Yeah. Well, this has been really helpful, Kathy. I really appreciate getting this information, particularly before our next board meeting. So we will move quickly on this for sure.
Okay. All right. Anybody have anything else for Council on Aging and Pam?
Thank you very much for your support, Kathy. And
Well, Bill, I love seeing you, so I'm glad you're here tonight. Happy to help as far as the discussion with CIPC if you need help, but the ball's in your court to basically let them know what you want done.
thank you.
Thank
Okay.
you.
All right.
Thanks, everybody.
Okay. Thanks, Pam, for coming.
Thank you. Take care, guys.
Good night.
Thank you.
Night.
It's always a tough one. We spend so little money per capita on seniors compared to kids, and it's that way everywhere. But it's just, it's not even close. It's like you said, they get $1. Let's see, they get $19,000. So they get $19 per. What do you say? $12 per senior. Well, for kids, we spend $20,000 per or something like that is when you add the whole thing up. So there's definitely no comparison there. But anyway, they do a lot for a short amount of money for sure. And they have waited patiently for, a better space. So we'll just have to see what happens here as far as that goes. Okay. I don't see Karen Galligan. So I never heard whether she was coming. So I guess she's not. So we're not going to do what.
Frozen.
Kathy, you froze a little bit.
Which was the other group we were supposed to do?
We were talking about doing the water bill.
Oh, water bill. Okay.
Let me pull up the agenda.
No, you're right. Because I remember Eric saying he wouldn't be here for that.
I think that one's going to be important because I think the Newton Street water main project, I think that looks like it might come to town meeting for a vote, but it's about $2.5 million to replace that water main. Again, it doesn't go into our tax bases, but it goes into our water bills. It'll be bonded. Something to keep an eye on. Yeah, I think Kathy alluded to it with the Council on Aging. It's a tough place to be because it's, do you improve Corderville Hall if you're going to sell it in a few years? How much do you spend there? How much don't you spend there? Does it affect the resale value? Is Woodward suitable for them or not? So there's a lot of, Senior Center was one of the real driving factors to do the analysis on whether or not Woodward would be good. So I think, kind of, as you said, balls in their court to do the analysis and see what might be the best option for them going forward.
Yeah. A lot of moving parts.
Well, while we wait for Kathy, Sam, any public comment? No.
Do the minutes.
Why don't we
Yeah,
do?
we can do the minutes. Did anybody have? I sent out some edits on the 112 minutes. I sent some edits to Claire, and she incorporated those and sent those around. Did anybody else have any other edits?
Had some that I think were minor. I'm just pulling it up. Going to have to jog my memory. So line 52 with the meeting schedule discussion. I believe we are also going to meet on February 2nd on the benefits. Or no, Board of Health is next week. Yeah, Board of Health. So I don't know if we just missed it in our conversation or if it's missed on the minutes.
Oh, might as well add it.
And then
Got that, Claire?
Okay, I'll add that to, I didn't realize that was discussed, but I will add
yeah, we
that.
might not have.
So there is a meeting next week?
Yes,
Okay.
and the Board of Health
Thanks, guys.
is the topic.
So it's Board of Health and what was the other one? Sorry.
That was it for that section.
Okay, thank you.
And there were some other little ones I thought. This one I wasn't sure, and now I don't know if I have it in my notes, but I had made a question to myself on line 97, the state aid being 8K. For some reason, I thought it was higher than that, but I can't remember now.
Which one was that? What line?
97. Thought it was a bigger number.
Adam, what's the number that you're seeing?
I think it was the
I'm seeing-
cherry sheet library at
Oh, okay, yep, all right.
Yeah, I can't. I remember, or I thought I remembered it being a higher number, but I can't remember now, and I don't have it in my
Okay, so
notes.
I could check that with Ryan. And I mean, we still have plenty of time to get these approved for the 45 days. So as long as they're drafted up, I can check that out and do a revision if that's what you guys want.
Kathy, do you remember what the Adam was questioning the number of the cherry sheet number for the library?
13K or so. I've got it. right
13K?
here. No, something like that. I've got it right here. The governor's budget today. What is wrong with my computer?
Adam's throwing a little echo, but
Oh, sorry.
all right.
So the governor's budget came out today, so we'll know what local aid looks like tomorrow, I guess. All right, so last year's cherry sheet was
16.7. Does that seem right?
I've got 1689, but close enough. So call it 16, something like
Yeah.
that. It's not very much.
Kathy, you were talking about the governor's budget proposal, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's out.
Yeah, it came out today.
Yeah.
He's trying to reduce taxes.
Looks a little higher. It's like 50 extra K for us for the schools, and
So you see it,
yeah, it's an extra 5K for the rest and 50K for schools.
which is nothing. On $3 million, that's really nothing.
So it was,
Okay,
anyway, so we're doing minutes, Kathy.
all right, go ahead.
Any other ones, Adam?
The only other one was, which is pretty minor, I think, on line 107. This was in reference to the hotspots. And there's a comment there, RD feels that it's providing a service so that people have access to books. Was that correct, or is it was he saying that it was similar to being able to provide books? Was it to give people access to books, those hotspots? No, I think I think it was in reference to just like we provide books, we provide internet, right?
It's to give them access to internet if they need it.
Yeah.
And they
They
have
are.
access to books.
Well, if they could get, I mean, you just don't, it's internet. It's not just books, it's internet.
I mean, we should take out the line. It doesn't really add anything.
Okay. All right.
It's minor, sorry.
No, it's good. It was it was a very long, weird conversation.
Yeah, that's it from my end.
So who else has gone?
Should I go over the edits that I had sent to Claire, just so I have it on the record?
Well, I'm the only one that got lost, right?
Yeah, but I haven't. So I emailed Claire mine.
Oh, yeah. So yes,
Yeah,
you should
yeah.
go over your edits.
Yeah, so the one that I sent out was yesterday, and that actually had Andrew's edits included in it. It was like version. So if you look down the bottom of the document, it says version 2.
Okay, I didn't look at that when I looked at the previous one. So go ahead and let us know
Yeah.
what Andrew's edits are.
Yeah, and I'll just put them on the screen. It's faster.
You had added the DRA, the name of the
Yeah.
firm.
So I changed entirely moderator important instead of just moderator appointed in order to be allowed by our current advisory bylaw. I added that. Instead of just saying DRA, I put the full name. I put RD for Ryan Donovan just because we reference it in other places. And that was it.
Okay, looks good. Who else has not gone that wants to go?
Marcy, I don't think, do you have any edits?
No, the RD was on my list, but that's, you took care of that, Andrew.
Great. And Tom?
Tom,
I'm good. Sorry, I was trying to unmute. I'm all set. Thanks.
And Tim hasn't gone yet either.
I would just ask the group if anybody feels that the hotspot write-up should have more of an opinion that was expressed about whether or not it's appropriate.
I do agree with that, and I've got that on my list.
Okay.
And I want to talk about it too again in a minute. I actually want to talk about it as part of just a budget discussion. So yes, Claire, we need to make it clear in these minutes that we very much question the need to have that in that budget as far as whether it's got anything to do with the library. So it just needs to be clear that we actually seem to not want that in the budget. We haven't voted yet, but there certainly were a lot of questions on why it's there.
Yeah, so I actually would go on record just personally as I think there could be a place for them, but I don't like how uncontrolled the process is around them.
Well, you know, the only reason it's there is because they got some money thrown at them. If that money had been thrown at them, this would not be in their budget. And so I just don't think that's a good reason for it to be in a budget, because someone threw a bunch of money at you and said, okay, go spend it. So yeah, they took it, but it would never have been there except for that.
I agree.
I'd almost prefer it to be in youth and family services. It's that's closer to what the intention was to those who need, right? And they're certainly closer to that than the library would be. But again,
Yeah, if it's being utilized for the right reasons, I don't have an issue with it being somewhere. But if it's, as we talked about, somebody checking it out for a car ride to have a hotspot to be on, their iPad or whatever it is, that doesn't make sense.
He's going to come back to us with utilization. Remember, he said it got checked out 30 times over 5 months, right? So if it turns out it's the same, 4 people doing it, I don't think you should do it. So he's going to give us more info. I think that they are receptive to taking it out. I will tell you that. So let's see what they come up with as far as uses, then we'll make a final decision. But
Yeah, I really don't.
That one troubles me.
I don't want to go to town meeting and have to explain why we're providing a utility to people who probably aren't even residents of our town. I mean, we'll get slammed.
Yeah. Okay, so Claire, can you kind of make that a little bit more succinct as far as what at least our informal opinion is right now on that one?
Yeah, I can.
That we view that one with great skepticism, I think might be a way to put it.
Yeah, okay, so can I do that? I'll send out a revised copy, and can we do it at the next meeting? I just want to make sure that you guys approve it.
No, let's get this done tonight. I don't want this.
All right.
well, Kathy, let's just write a line and have Claire put it in.
Okay. So
I
how
think you
about,
said it, the skepticism and, whatever, we're in favor or something.
I'm waiting for more information to determine recommendation.
Okay,
Okay. All right, I've got a few changes. Let's see. Okay, so Claire, I'm going to go back over lines 34 and 45, because if I said what you say here, leave it. But there's some things in here that aren't exactly right. So I want to make sure everybody knows where we stand with the MSBA and with NERI and da-da-da. So the only thing I want you to add is on line 37, put a NERI school project.
okay,
Okay, to make it clear. Okay, then on line 44, the building size would be, at the very end of that sentence, would be at least 60,000 square feet. It's actually going to be bigger, but so just put at least.
okay, yeah,
All right, and then on line 56, that date should be February 9th. Somebody may already corrected this stuff. I didn't hear it very, very good. Okay, so February 9th is a Wednesday. So
And then we added February 2nd, right? There's a meeting then.
yes, there is a meeting on, well, we're going to talk in a second, but right now there is, yes.
Okay.
So we're definitely doing February 2nd. 9th is going to be, we're going to change the 9th, but that 8th is not right. It should be 9th. Okay. Let's see, that's it for that. And the last thing, on line 130, AN would like to see more detail provided on grant money that departments receive, period. Instead of used during the year. Okay.
All right. I move we approve the meeting minutes from January 12th as amended.
Second.
Who was the second? Tom?
Adam.
Adam, sorry, is that Adam? Okay, roll call vote. AP,
Aye.
Cook is aye. Adam,
Aye.
Marcy,
Aye.
Tom,
Aye.
Tim?
I
All right, Claire, so you've got 6-0 to approve those minutes as edited. Okay, all right, so let me go, let's talk about the schedule again, because it is.
Kathy, we also did public comment while you were gone and Sam had none.
Okay, all right, thank you. Okay, so 2.2 is going to be solely Board of Health. It's going to be an interesting discussion. You're going to see some background on your email long before it. It was by far the most contentious budget we had last year, small budget, but they wanted to make a massive set of changes to it, money-wise, people-wise, et cetera. So this is a continuation of that discussion. So that's the sole thing we're going to do next week. 2.9, we're not going to meet because that is the school committee meeting that the Capital Planning Committee, School Research Subcommittee is going to be presenting its report to the school committee as far as it's conclusion on whether we can close the school. And if we can close the school, which school to close. So I'll go ahead and post a meeting for that night in case we have a quorum that comes to it. So that way we can talk if you want to. But I will keep you up to date too. So it's your call whether you want to come to it. I'll make sure you see the report ahead of time. We're going to finish the report next Friday. The problem with this subcommittee, there's only 3 people on it. And so 2 make a quorum. So we can't talk at all outside this meeting. So we can do, I mean, you can't even swap this report back and forth. So we're going to finish the report on Friday, a week from this Friday, and then present to the school committee next Wednesday. So that's going to be 2 nights. So we won't meet as a committee on the 9th. The 16th, we are going to meet. We're going to, if the Community Preservation Committee is ready, we're going to meet with them, and I'm not sure they are. If they are, we will meet with them. And we will meet with Brian Valentine to talk about the benefits budget as far as everything that's going on there. 2/23 is school vacation week, so we won't meet in case you guys have big plans for that week. So we want you to make sure you go away if you can. So we won't meet 23rd, and then we will meet on March the 2nd. Okay, and that's all I know so far. And March 2nd is going to be the schools. So that'd be a big meeting.
As an FYI, Kathy, it looks like, so we're meeting with the Board of Health on the 2nd. It looks like the Board of Health may be meeting with the ARPA committee on the day after that. So,
okay, interesting. So what we'll ask you to do, Tim, is then update us. I'm about to ask for an ARPA update anyway. So we'll want you to keep us posted as far as that meeting the next night. And we'll talk about that the next time we meet after that.
Sure.
Okay. Okay, everybody got the schedule as far as the next few weeks go. So let me go back now to the chair report. So still don't have town meeting date set. I've checked in with chair and vice chair, and they're going to meet. Board of Selectmen are going to try to set the date next Tuesday. So that's what they want to do, is actually get it set. So I don't have any more information than I had last week when Mark Purple updated us as far as the potential dates. And he said he thought it was going to be on May 7th or the 21st. Lisa and Chelsea aren't even saying that, so I'm not sure if there is more choices right now. But anyway, so they're going to meet next Tuesday. Hopefully we'll have a date when they finish that meeting. The space needs study that was presented last Thursday by the Capital Investment Planning Committee has been emailed to everyone. Jason Malinowski sent it, and he's also asking for any comments from all relevant committees by next Monday. Doesn't mean you can't comment after that, but as far as those comments being integrated into their next version of the report, you've got to get them in by Monday. So I don't know who went to the meeting. I had a horrible week last week and I didn't see the meeting. I still haven't seen the report. So I'm not sure who went. I know we didn't have a quorum. I was told that. So
I think it was just Marcy and I.
Okay. You want to update us? Tell us, give us a big picture of what.
Sure. I can give you my take and Marcy can give you hers. I thought the presentation was great. I thought DRA did a good job. I think I still have concerns that the senior center, that Woodward wouldn't work, which is kind of the whole, point of doing this from the beginning, was the senior center kind of spurning this on. A little bit recreation, right? But then the town offices was kind of an afterthought. I don't love the idea of basically not doing anything with the brand new, newly renovated townhouse. Library was like, maybe it could be an annex or not. I don't like that. That's not kind of the center of government, but I don't know what you do there, but I would have loved to have seen that. Maybe that's where the selectman's office is. And, I don't know, more like the senior leadership kind of office or HR department or something like that. But I thought the plan was good. I mean, it was certainly well done and well thought out, but those are some of the pieces I had.
You want select board being where?
I think the townhouse should be the center of the government. Like the townhouse is the townhouse. It doesn't mean that all our town departments have to be there, but imagine Mark's there and the HR department, or, the people that run the town, they should be in the townhouse. Doesn't
So
mean
they moved him to Woodward?
the only thing that was going to be in the library, going to be in the townhouse was library.
You're going to move the library to the townhouse?
They were talking about putting additional space for the library in the townhouse. So it would be the library is the library, plus maybe they move the youth and teen rooms to the library, or to the townhouse, sorry.
I think it was called Library Annex or something,
Yeah.
Andrew. Am I right?
Alternate library,
So they literally moved the entire townhouse to Woodward?
correct.
Wow. That's
The whole
impressive.
townhouse to Woodward, along with all of Corderville Hall and all of South Union.
Interesting. Marcy, what
I
do you
thought it
think?
was I thought it was very helpful to see the visuals. The presentation was very well done. I completely agree with Andrew that it's a bit eye-opening to think we've, just passed a budget to renovate the townhouse, and to hear them say move, most things to Woodward, I think is going to raise some red flags. But it was a very interesting look. Check out the presentation if you can. I think it's helpful. And likely will be a lot of debate discussion here.
I mean, my thought was, they put the library there, but I would have rather had the library at Woodward, move more of the town offices back, and maybe some of the town offices, recreation, some of the things, if recreation and council on aging are there, maybe some of the things that kind of revolve around that, veterans agent or things like that could be at Woodward, but maybe the permitting boards, Board of Health, I don't know. But, kind of keep more of the stuff, treasurer, collector, accountant, select board back in the townhouse is how I would have seen it. But again, they're asking for feedback. This is stuff that we can certainly send to Jason.
Well, I think you guys, I'm with you guys on this one. I never dreamed they were going to put the library in the townhouse. I thought they put in Woodward. It's already got a library, right? You can put the kids library down there.
And that was one of the options. It just wasn't the option they picked.
Yeah, there's some real interesting feedback from the trustees about what parents are supposed to do with their kids. You're not going to drop your kids off at the townhouse and then go to the library to search for your own books, right? I mean, what do? It doesn't work.
That's what I was thinking, kind of, Tim. It would make sense that if Woodward was the rec center and, it was kind of the library was an annex within the recreation department kind of thing. And you could drop your kids off at Woodward for, a rec thing, and maybe they're supervised, and then you could go to the library and do your thing. But yeah, again, I see what they were saying.
And they put the superintendent's office next to, in Woodward,
Woodward.
And that just saying that there's room for superintendent in Trotter. So that's another choice of where to put them. I hope they stay in Southborough because we get the rent from, Northborough and from Algonquin for it. So I hope they stay here because there's a lot of rent. But there's another place they could go very easily, which is Trotter. Trotter's got a lot of room. Yeah, interesting. Okay. Okay, so this is what I want to make clear about what's going on with the possible building project in the area. So there's a quasi-governmental agency called the Massachusetts School Building Authority, formed in 2004 after we built the last three schools. So we didn't deal with MSBA when we built the last three schools. We dealt with the Department of Education. They take a look, DOR takes a look at every town and basically says, based on various factors, population, wealth, income, asset values, this is what we think you guys should be reimbursed by the MSBA. And our reimbursement is about 38%. Now, we don't get 38% because the MSBA doesn't cover all cost. They cap the building cost at $360 a square foot. And we think it's going to cost about $700 a square foot to build with current cost. And if we, by the time we build it, it may be a lot more too. So anyway, the effective reimbursement rate is probably something between 17 and 20%, but still a lot of money. If the project's $70 million, 20% is, $14 million. So Tim, I'm directing all this at you too, given your committee work. So you've got these numbers. So we took a look at whether there's any other downside to use an MSBA being in the program, getting their money and then having to follow the rules. And it's actually a good group. They provide a lot of expertise, et cetera. They help a lot as far as making sure you've really vetted all ideas. So if we work with them, we can't just say we're going to tear down Neary or we're just going to rehab. You got to show them both. You got to show them a partial rehab, a full rehab, tear it down, start over. So you have to go through a process that takes quite a while to show them all viable alternatives, that you looked at everything as far as what to do here. You shouldn't expect the rehab cost to cost a lot less than a new building, just because rehab sometimes can even cost more because of what you have to do. So you're still talking about a very, very expensive project, even if it's a rehab and not a tear down. Even if it's rehab, we got to add some space anyway. So it's still, we're talking a very expensive project, by far the most expensive project we've ever undertaken as a town. The public safety building cost $20 million. We're talking 60 to 80 for this one. The other three schools that were built 20 years ago were far less than this point. I mean, costs have just gone up a lot. And of course, they're going up really fast right now, which is scary. So the big downside of using MSBA is timing. Their process could take 2 years to 3.5 years more than if we just go it alone and get going. Because it just takes a while with them. They have certain modules you have to go through, and those modules take certain times. So that's your big downside. And with costs going up right now, you've got a real risk that it could cost a lot more if you waited for the MSBA process. So you actually might, we've got a spreadsheet, which I'll show you guys maybe next time, that shows that if the cost escalation is 6% and not 4%, which is what we've got in the spreadsheet right now, then in a couple scenarios, we would lose money by working with MSBA. It would cost more because those costs of delaying would be a lot more than what they give you. So it's not a done deal that we're going to use or we're going to recommend using MSBA funding. We expect to hear from the MSBA. So they haven't said that we can be in the program to begin with. We've applied. We're a finalist. There's 11 schools that are in the finalist category for 2021. And we've been told by email that they're going to let us know next week. We thought we had to wait till March, but we're actually going to hear next week. They're doing that because they want to make sure those that don't get in can get right back in the queue for 2022, if that's what they want to do, because that process is about to open for 2022. So it was all very interesting looking at MSB, but they've got lots of expertise. So we'll see how this all turns out. And again, you could get invited in. We could say, yes, we want to do it, and then take it to the town, and the town still turns down the project. Schools are the most contentious thing we have in this town. You'll end up with two groups at town meeting. You'll end up with parents who probably will support it, and you'll end up with people who don't have kids in school who may be quite skeptical because of the impact on their taxes. So it's far from being a done deal. Even if the school committee wants to go forward with it, they've got to decide they want to close the school. That's their jurisdiction. They do that, then we go to town meeting, present a warrant article that has numbers in it. That would be the estimate of the cost, get that approved, and then we go forward with the actual design of the project.
Hey, Kathy, I watched your meeting the other day. I think the only part that, is the present value of the opportunity cost to a taxpayer, right? I know it would save us money in construction because we'd have 2 less years of inflation on the costs, but that's 2 less years that, money's in our pocket earning interest. So I think it's just, that's a question that somebody's going to bring up.
Yep. And I'm not sure we're going to factor that in, Andrew, because it's kind of hard to factor that in. I don't know what it is in your pocket, to my pocket, to the town's pocket. Yeah. So I don't know. And then the other thing too, if you heard, interest rates. You tell me what interest rates are going to do, and we can decide how that factors in. And the others on the Zoom seem to think that we should factor interest rates in. I kept trying to steer them away because I don't know how you do that. Interest rates, we think they're going to go up, right? But we thought they were going to go up a few years ago, and they went down instead. You had a pandemic, they go down. So I think trying to factor in the impact of an interest rate if you went with MSBA, which would be interest rates, 2 years after versus today, I don't know how you do that. So that's another variable that so far we have not factored in, but certainly could make a difference. as far as that goes. So all very interesting. So Tim, I'm making sure you hear all this because of your committee work with ARPA. All right, let's see. All right, so I think that's what I've got. Tim, anything you want to tell us about where the ARPA committee is at this point?
We've had a slow start out of the gate due to logistical administrative miscommunications. Hopefully in our next meeting, everybody will be able to attend and we will be able to elect a chair and a vice chair and get going.
All right. Okay, so, all right, so you've at least heard what given you mentioned you think Neary should be on the table. I wanted to make sure you knew where Neary stood.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So I do know that, there is, we discussed a very high level plan. We're going to invite most, in a staggered fashion, most of the town boards will be invited to come talk to us and discuss their needs. Then we'll be setting up a series of metrics, agreed upon metrics for how these needs will be ranked and rated and prioritized and confirmed against the large amount of criteria that have been given to us by the state for eligibility, and then sent back to the select board. We have a really, really tight turnaround.
What's your turnaround?
Well, anything that might potentially impact the budget has to be, any recommendations have to be given by, I think it was the beginning of March. And then anything that doesn't directly impact this upcoming town meeting, they want by mid-May. And that,
Well, good luck on the March date. My gosh, you got school vacation week in there, and
I know. And then the other part, Kathy, is that in addition to the activities I mentioned, they also want a survey with significant feedback from the town. So the timeframe is pretty aggressive.
Well, I'd say it's unrealistic, but we'll see, I guess.
Yeah, we'll see.
And Tim, I would make sure that not to forget the regional school. I know they have some big capital items for next year.
Okay. So yeah.
Sometimes they get, they're not brought in when we talk about capital requests or whatever, right? We talk to the town departments, but sometimes we forget about the regional school.
Got it. Okay.
They want to put in a new athletic complex. I think it's FY24, like 5.9 total. So we pay 40% of that.
All right. Anybody have anything else before we say goodnight?
Kathy, one item that they had on the capital planning meeting the other day was the regional school districts talking about wanting to create a capital stabilization fund.
Yep.
And putting that into, I think there's a placeholder in the warrant for it. So I just hope that when Greg comes for that, we dig into that in detail and understand shifting that from the current process of how they do capital items to basically an operating budget, so on and so forth. What's the oversight? I had some concerns about that.
Northborough's already approved it. They approved it a few years ago, and we didn't. It didn't pass in Southborough, so they need Southborough to pass it if they're going to do it. So Northborough's already approved it. So, anybody have anything else before we say goodnight? Okay, so nice to see everybody. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call vote. AP.
Aye.
Cook is aye. Adam.
Aye.
Marcy.
Aye.
Tom.
Aye.
Timothy.
Aye.
All right. Thank you. See you next week. Board of Health.
Hey, everybody.
Good night.